Hey guys, it's Cameron from Desert RC. We finally got a micro chassis. A lot of you have been asking for it. This is the Desert RC Stinger Junior chassis. And it is a center skid chassis. And this works with the Ascent18 and the Trx4m predominantly. I have both, and I will show you. This is just a prototype chassis, but they will be available in black carbon fiber. You can see all the different holes there. That allows you to mate up an RTR Trx4m or a Red Cat Ascent18. I am in the process of mocking one up to a Cx24 Bronco, but they should also mock up to the 24 scale stuff. You'll just need a longer wheelbase setup. Let's go over this rig a little bit. 10-degree angled skid, lower shock position so you can get this thing to sit really low, ton of belly clearance, really good departure angle and breakover angle here. These links on here are from RC710 Steve. I had him do plus 12 mil links in the rear to stretch out the wheelbase on this. I'm running the Tusk tires from J Concepts in the 63 millimeter outer diameter, so it's kind of like running a 13-inch wheelbase with 525 cut and shut tires on a class 2 1/10 scale. But that's what I kind of wanted with this one. And I initially ran it with the stock wheelbase, and it was too short of a wheelbase for the tall tires and the portals. This thing does really well. This is like a 10th scale crawler in the 1/18th. It's the most capable micro crawler I've ever seen. I'm not much into the micro stuff because I don't really have that much fun with it until now. Now that we have our own chassis, it's super capable. Got it out on the rocks. Going to show you guys both of these, the portal setup and the straight axles on the Trx4m. I'm just going to drive around. We're going to get some run footage of it. And by the end of this video, I'll kind of have some numbers together on what I expect to sell this chassis kit for. It'll come with the chassis spacers 3D printed front and rear. It'll come with 3 millimeter thick neodymium magnets to magnetize your body on. The ESC in there is from VTech ESC. Victor, really cool guy. Super small ESC for these micro crawlers. Really good lightweight setup. Really happy with that. I'm also running the FuryTech Cedar motor, and I got the tiny little micro FlySky receiver from RC710 Steve, as well as the links. But he'll be providing links for this chassis at some point. I need to send some out to him. But let's get out on the rocks and see how well this thing does out here. Forgot to mention, RC710 Steve did double bend rear links for me. They are plus 12 millimeters long, and they are the same. This has the K10 links in the rear. They are the same wheelbase. But I should have said like a plus 13 at the rear upper, just to get that, or maybe even plus 14, just to get that rear upper pinion angle to kind of sit in line with the links. But there it is. Close up look at it. Buttery smooth setup. I do have brass in this thing as well, and I did put it on my corner scales. Got about 61/39 forward weight bias. I did talk to 24 Yep a few times about shocks for these little guys. I knew nothing about building one of these. This is my kind of first dive into building an LCG micro crawler. But he told me that the springs most of the time are way too stiff for these things. So we're just running the Injora 53 millimeter shocks without the spring cups at the bottom. And it did drive a lot better after taking those spring cups off. VTech. ESC also sent me this 3D printed Toyota hardbody. Thank you for that, dude. Appreciate that. Magnets that are gonna come with this kit are super strong. Okay, let's try that one again. Having all that weight up front does hinder it on downhill, of course. Had to let that jet fly overhead. Yeah, tell me what you guys think about this new Stinger Junior chassis. I wanted to create another like little baby replica of the Coyote chassis, but there's already a micro chassis that's named the Coyote, so I had to find something else. Said what better thing or name, what better name than to just call it the Stinger Junior, because it has the same outline shock tower shapes of my new forward skid Stinger chassis. Does anybody know of some transmission reduction gears for the Ascent18? If so, let me know in the comments down below. This thing's got way too much wheel speed. I would love to get the torque down low where it's needed. I feel like when you're doing microcrawling, you have to think small. I'm used to 10 scale obstacles, so I have to retrain my brain to crawl this tiny stuff. And it's just foreign to me. I'm sure it's the same when someone goes from 10th scale to 6th. To get the plus 12 length rear links to work with the transmission and rear output ring and pinion on the Ascent18 rear axle, I was able to use a Trx4m Injora stock length drive shaft for the rear. I just had to drill out the output hole into the drive shaft for the transmission, because the transmission output on the Ascent18 is thicker than the Trx4m. But it was easy. I just got my drill bits out and found the right size. Screw went right through the slot. Super simple. It's harder to get custom with these things than it is with the 10 scale stuff. That, and I just don't know where to go for all the aftermarket performance goodies. Which means there must be a market for it. Definitely need to get some reduction gears for this Ascent18 transmission. That'll fix the cogging down low. All right, let's go get the Trx4m. All right, Trx4m, straight axles on the Stinger chassis. I've got the longer links in the rear just to kind of stretch it out. One thing about the Trx4m axles is they get hung up on every little overhang. We do have the crawler gears in here, so it's geared properly. We've got about, I think, 20-something% overdrive. This thing's a little line eater. Does the vertical stuff really well. So just like portal rigs and 10 scale, I don't expect this thing to do a lot of like sharp overhangs, breaking over that stuff, because it's sitting super low because it's on straight axles. It's just not going to climb over the things that the Ascent18 does. But this thing does get more vertical than that one does. It's actually doing a lot better than I thought it would. One thing about those reduction transmission gears is you can only get them in metal that I know of. Plastic ones are weak. Once you start upgrading everything, they are loud. Yeah, look at that. That was super vertical. Yeah, this thing was already pretty heavily upgraded for my son. I do have an incline board at my house, and before this thing would reach about a 60-degree incline. And that was with everything you see on it, minus the chassis. It had the Endura or Mia's LCG chassis on it. And then once I went to this chassis, it jumped from 60 degrees to 66 degrees. So whatever I created here it definitely enhances the performance of either a stock Trx4 and Ascent18 and even the LCG options that you can find out there. Micro crawling isn't that big down here in southern Utah because we have all these rocks outside to do the 10 scale stuff. I would like to get into the smaller stuff. I did start building a course in my backyard, so hopefully I can get into more of that soon. It's just convenient for the kids because they don't have to go very far. They don't have to go out here. So I've given it a lot of thought, and let me know what you guys think about this in the comments, but I was thinking about selling this kit for 60 bucks. It's a kit that's universal between both 18th scale platforms, and if you use the M2 hardware, you can mount an Trx4m into it as well, as far as the shock towers go, because they use tiny little 1.0 screws. They just don't thread into the 3D printed cross brace, but the kit will come with the cross braces, a full set of magnets, chassis rails, skid, or sliders, sorry. It won't come with the skid, you'll use a stock skid. But it'll come with the sliders, the spacers, 3D printed spacers, and the chassis spacers, the aluminum ones, will be 35 millimeters wide. And then if you're gonna do this to your Ascent18, I highly suggest ditching those shocks that they come with because they're not optimal for this. They're way too thick for the scale. You're gonna wanna get the 53 millimeter Endura shocks, and they make a kit for the Ascent18. It comes with spacers to offset it from the axle and the chassis, so it's nice and square. But I'm thinking about 65 bucks. Sliders, rails, aluminum chassis spacers, and 3D printed chassis spacers with magnets. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. If that's too much, say it. Don't be afraid. If it's not enough, say that as well. Now, mind you, I can't keep up with Endura and Mia's because they're Chinese manufactured, and cost to manufacture things there are way less than they are here in America. And I don't have a factory, I'm printing this stuff myself. So keep that in mind. That's why it's going to be a little bit more expensive than those companies. So I wonder if we can go up that. Let's see. So to make this work with the SCX24, I will have to come up with a special 3D printed skid because the mounting holes don't quite line up with the stock skid. Not to mention that stock skid is also like a really flimsy plastic, and if I can get one designed and then printed with my PETG carbon fiber filament, it'll be super strong and it'll give you different mounting options. But I have not yet seen a micro LCG chassis that'll work with multiple platforms, but that's what I've done here. It works with the Trx4m and the Ascent18, and with enough ingenuity you can make it work with the SCX24. They're all right around the same scale anyway, so I don't see why no one's done it yet. That way you don't have to make 3 different options of the same chassis. Keeps production down, makes things simpler. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Leave your feedback in the comments down below, and I'll catch you guys next week. We'll do a Stinger chassis versus Coyote chassis, and I'll set up some gates and courses and we'll run them. All right, guys, peace out. Thanks for watching. See you next week.